And then Scott Van Leeuwen decided to say yes. They do a weird vote thing where we're all around a circle, and their roll call, they just start and go yes, yes, or I. And then he said yes. And then it became a joke the rest of the night. Like a different person would say yes on each vote. But for me, it was hard to keep track.
Ordinance?
Oh, that's so
Did you tell them
funny.
the ordinance?
So I asked the attorney out there. I actually did ask the attorney out there. I said, hey, one of our council members said it has to be yes. He said, well,
No, it's a state statute. It's a real thing.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
and he said I means yes. And so anyway, that was his take.
I means yes, yes.
That
They changed that about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, but
Yep.
it is a state statute now.
and but we I said, well, we're going to do it right in Riverdale. And so anyway, okay, we're back in open session. We are going to reverse the order of action item 1A and B, just for a little bit for clarity. So the first item we would consider would be action item 1B, motion to untable and consideration of resolution 2023-19 regarding a proposed planned residential use development PRUD overlay request applied to the Coleman View Estates PRUD subdivision at approximately 5368 South, 1050 West Riverdale, as requested by Goldcrest Homes. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that's probably the best. I think Alan's correct on that. We probably should do the PRUD first. Generally, when we see these types of situations, the reason they ask for them is because there's some uniqueness to the land, and so they want to tweak their setbacks is what it boils down to, which is what they did in this case. The overall project's there and all those kind of things, but they did want to pinch some of those houses in to make this work, and so that's why they're requesting the PRUD overlay. I don't know that I have a lot more information on that. I mean, that just is what they did request, but we probably should look at that first before we did the overall approval because it does include that PRUD. So, that those can be good or bad. They've submitted everything. Again, all their rules and regulations, which again we don't go over those. We do require that they submit them, and they've done all that stuff, but. They're good to go. I mean, there would be no reason, again, why we would deny that under our normal situations. So it is there, and it's set before you. And if you did decide to, take it a definitive, either a yay or a nay or a yes or a no, we need to make some findings of fact on that as to why you do that, because that would be what we would have to rely upon in court if we ended up there. So.
Okay, so for the first matter of business would be to untable if we're going to have any discussion at all on this item. Do we have a motion to untable?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion in a couple of seconds. Ms. Maragoni, will you please, Counselor Arnold. Any comment on that motion? Yes, thank you for,
So there's pending litigation from these people on the city with council members named specifically. And I think it's tough for us to get a quorum that doesn't have some sort of pressure to pass this or to talk about this with the litigation out there. I know my name specifically is on there, and I will not give in to a builder that spends more time on there with threatening lobbyists and lawyers rather than working with us. We've had 4 or 5 projects that we've actually talked about where the builder has actually come in and worked with us, and the terms that they've used is actually they've come up with a better product. And with this Goldcrest Homes, they're threatening lobbyists and lawyers instead of working with us on this. So I don't see how we can get a quorum to talk about it without the pressures of a lawsuit. So, I don't see how we can talk about it.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Any other comments? We do have a motion and a second. Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council on that motion?
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
No.
Counselor Stevens?
No.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Okay, the motion to untable does pass 3-2. So the issue is now on the table. Are there any further questions or discussion for Mr. Brooks? Okay. Seeing none, I guess a consideration to approve Resolution 2023-19 would be in order.
I will move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023-19. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Abstain.
Counselor Mara?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Okay. That resolution passes with 4 in favor and 1 abstaining. We'll now move on to item number 1A, motion to untable and consideration of ordinance 964 regarding a proposed final subdivision and site plan request for Coleman View Estates PRUD subdivision located at approximately 5368 South, 1050 West in Riverdale, as requested by Goldcrest Homes. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned to you previously, I haven't had a lot of time to work on this, but I did get a couple of pieces of information. One of those I had Michelle send out to you after the fact. You had asked me for that previously on that summary on that traffic study. You weren't here on last meeting, Ellen, but that's why she sent that out this week. That's just the summary of their traffic study that they did. And if you read that, they're the ones that state that, to make that a straight in shot right there is just not feasible if they have to move those telephone lines. And so I thought it was important that you saw that, because I think it's important that we remember that when we require a lot of these things, we're asking experts in those fields to look at these things and decide, is this something that can work and it can't. Obviously, they felt that it couldn't. And again, it was their traffic study, but I think it does add some merit to it. Now, that's not to say that they couldn't do something after the fact and make some changes, because I can see realistically that if they did move that around or were able to swap land and different things, there may be an option where it could benefit everybody. But I think that one of the big points is the UDOT's reaction to this. And one of the things that I'd requested from the builders and developers here was some of their early communications with UDOT. And as I went through some of the stuff, and like I said, I just got this today, so I haven't got through the whole thing. There was quite a bit of information they sent me. They did send a map, and this one was kind of interesting, that I did want you to at least take a look at it. And it appears from this map that they looked at actually 3 entrances or exits as they originally designed this onto 1050 with nothing on South Weber Drive. And as I read through some of that information, UDOT wasn't really hip on that. In fact, their response back, and I'll hand this around, Mayor. I should have made more copies. I apologize. Their response back was they actually eliminated 2 of them. They said, we'll give you 2 total entrances. And I think that's where the discussions began to change, and they started to have to look at South Weber Drive because they weren't going to get 2 of them on 1050. Is it 1050 or 1150, whatever that road is? They weren't going to get 250 or 2 of them onto 1050, and so by their own notations here, this was the response back from UDOT, was they eliminated that one up there by the UMA and the one closer to the intersection and went with the middle one. And so I think that's where the developer at this point thought, well, that's what we got, and then they started looking to how they could redesign it to get another one onto South Weber, knowing that they got to have more than just one in there. So I thought that was pretty important that you all see that.
Mr.
And
Brooks,
then-
do we need to untable before you explain all this to us?
Oh,
or-
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got ahead of myself.
That's
Yes,
okay.
we did.
I wasn't sure how much
Oh, that's
information
my
you could
fault.
share with us. Like if
Yeah, I don't want to get into that much detail. You better untable that first.
we
Yep,
if we're trying to make a decision whether to untable, I guess you could just say I have new information.
Right.
How about that?
Right.
Okay, so there is new information, as evidenced by Mr. Brooks. So if we were going to go further with this, we would need a motion to untable.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Counselor
I'm
Arnold.
just gonna say ditto from what I said before about the first one, rather than running the whole gamut of that.
Okay. Any other comments? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
No.
Counselor Arnold?
No.
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Okay, the motion to untable and consider ordinance 964 passes 3-2. So the ordinance is now on the table, so we can continue discussing.
Thank you,
it.
Mayor. I apologize for that. I got a little ahead of myself. So after our last meeting, when we discussed this, I reached out to as many parties as I could. I did hear back from the developers. I've been in meetings with UMA, and I've tried to reach out to UDOT, but I haven't heard back from them directly. I wanted to speak with them in person to see where we could get with that. So I'm going off a lot of the information that the developers provided us, but and looking at the minutes and the notes and stuff in some of the meetings, Mike was privy to some of those, and so I don't question that this is all on the up and up. But as I was mentioning there, that one map I think was kind of important because it kind of shows how this thing evolved and developed there. And from UDOT's own responses, right, fairly soon into the whole process there, they eliminated those two further end entrances coming off at 1050, and we're kind of encouraging them and pushing them to go onto South Weber Drive, which is what they eventually ended up doing. Even though I haven't heard from UDOT, they have been sending us a number of emails, and I can't remember what the term was that they used. They basically approved everything, and they've signed off on it. They're kind of asking us, what's the holdup? Why isn't this moving? Kind of thing. So that tells us that they don't have issues with it at this point. So these were some of the documents that we were seeking before, and we've received those electronically from UDOT. So they're wondering the same thing, why this hasn't moved. In addition to that, what I did, since I felt like my hands were tied a little bit, I asked our chief of police and Sean both to go down there and make some visits. And I think they've been down there on numerous occasions just to sit and watch and see where we're at. And I think both of those, their reports back to me was they're comfortable with that, where that's proposed at this point. And so I think at some point in time, we've got to make a decision. I mean, when somebody comes into us and they've met and checked all of the boxes and dotted all their I's and crossed their T's, I mean, our hands get tied to a certain point, and I think that's kind of where we're at. What I don't want to do is to take this into court, because I think our hands would be really tied in there and it'd be hard to justify that. Again, you just tabled it. You didn't make a final decision, so we're fine on that regards. But I don't know what else we could do. They are in discussions. They're still talking about some changes they can make. And it's not just the change on the entrance there. It's the change on the swap of land and things like that. I know the military academy would desperately, when we had our meeting with them, they've been interested in that for a while, because they'd like to have something out back behind them rather than use our park all the time, because they have to walk down there and stuff. So they're certainly a player in this, and they want to do what they can to help out. And I think it would benefit them. I mean, depending on how they developed it and stuff. But obviously, as it's proposed right now, if we approved it, there's nothing that binds them to that. And, we would hope that they would continue to negotiate those things in good faith. But from a legal perspective, I think our hands are pretty much tied. I don't know what else we could do. We can't ultimately just to put our foot down and say we demand you do this, because that just isn't going to happen, nor are they obligated to either. So at some point in time, we've got to make a decision. And so the mayor had asked me to get this back on the agenda. And I think even with some of the few little things that we had done and reached out for and searched out, I think it's really clear where we're at. So I would ask that you look at this and make a serious consideration on it. And if you do decide to go one way or another tonight, again, same thing I repeated earlier, we need to have findings of fact. So if you chose to go no, you've got to tell us why, because that's what I've got to rely upon when we get into court. The judge is going to want to know, why did you make that decision? So certainly if we end up there, that's going to make or break us.
Any questions for Mr. Brooks? Councilor Merrill.
So I just have two things I just wanted to just ask about. So, because you had said Chief Brinkman and Sean went down there
Yes.
to see.
Yeah.
Was that, because I know that the biggest concern that I've heard from residents, at least, and that I myself have noticed in that area, is when school goes in and out, right? If they did they go during the summer when school wasn't going in and out, or was it done and observed during like the high traffic times of school?
And I don't know what the military academy does. When I was down there again last week, there's still a lot of students down there. So I'm not sure if they take summers off or it's a limited number or what. Are they off? And I think the school across the street is off. So
Good Foundations just started last week.
did they?
Yeah, they're
So
coming back,
it,
though,
it
this
truly
week.
wouldn't be the same, but I think, you know, not I don't think that the traffic study kind of points those kind of things out. It is going to increase traffic. There's no question about it. But they threw some numbers in there and showed you, and they said one of the things in there was good through 2027, that they felt it still is fine there with the numbers that's going to create. So. Obviously, UDOT signed off on that, and they were okay with it. Their biggest concern, what I kept seeing on their statements, was the line of sight issues, and I think they felt that middle one was kind of a good factor for them, even taking into consideration that roundabout's coming. They felt comfortable with that.
Okay, thank you. And then the second thing, sorry, Michelle, can I see that map again real quick? So like, because this was just my understanding, at least of this. So, because the yellow squares are homes, right? So, because wasn't the discussion the road, there not being homes in between there, the road coming straight to where it says aligned with the 5150, and the road coming right here, so there wasn't any. Can you see where I'm pointing?
I
Because see,
could
this
see
road
it.
coming right here,
Right.
there'd be a lot between that and alignment with 5150, right?
Right.
Was there any discussion, or because I guess that's what I assumed was.
So like, if you look right here, these are power lines.
Yeah, it's the power lines getting
And this
away.
is a,
If you go
this
up
is another
further.
Power line right there.
But
For
so
the
like if
proposed.
this road came this way right along with the 5150, like is that wasn't a possibility?
That's where they
right?
were saying it was cost prohibitive to
Okay.
move those power lines if they went up higher. So that's why that's designed to cut down.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you guys, I thought the discussion earlier too was that this road came right with 5150 and that was denied. But then seeing this and it comes right here, what would it aligning right with 5150 be? But if that wasn't feasible,
Yeah,
then
that
I
was
understand
part of
now.
that traffic study. That traffic study was included in that big packet that they had sent us. So UDOT had seen that and signed off on it. So
Okay, got it. I just wanted to clarify those two things because I know that those have been
right,
those have been two of the biggest concerns.
right,
So
and
I want to make sure I
I mean,
understand
potentially it could line up with that. I mean, I've gone over there and looked at it too. It could closely line up, but you would have to jog it fairly quick because that first power pole's right there.
Oh, got it. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Councilor Arnold.
So on the, well, I probably shouldn't badmouth UDOT, but I will. UDOT came up with that mess in Layton. You know, that you're no left-hand turn and you have
Right.
to go in and turn around by
Right.
Walmart and all that kind of stuff. So and UDOT's talking about they had the, I don't know what you call that island median thing.
Right.
Pep Boys.
Right.
And now they're talking about one at Panera. You know, I don't think UDOT's infallible. But also, you know, if you look at the design of this, if you go to the north of their design, it's on the outer skirts of their property. And to line this up, they would lose 3 lots. So I know they've dotted their I's. I know they've crossed their T's. I'm gonna probably support this with objection in my heart. But, you know, the thing is, it's like, it irritates the crap out of me when a developer is bragging about their lobbyists, bragging about their attorneys, and not doing something for the community. And I'm totally pissed off at Brent Coleman, because how much money do you need, bud? So, yeah.
And I
Didn't even practice that out.
and I just want to have one comment as well. Like Mr. Brooks said, our hands are kind of tied. We do have to do this. We do hope that they'll continue to maybe negotiate in good faith and try to come up with a decent project because, I mean, it is something we're going to be stuck with as Riverdale residents for, you know, the foreseeable future. The developer will be able to build their homes and then they'll go on their way. And so I would I guess my ask of them would be, you know, just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should do it. And
Yeah.
so I would hope that they would do all they can to leave us with a quality project. And I mean, we can't force them to, obviously, but I think Mr. Stevens had something first. Counselor Arnold.
The one thing I did want to say too is they can put an intersection in there without moving the power poles. You know, it might have a traffic calming effect as they turn in that way or something like that, because it's definitely not a long stretch, but it could be a traffic calming effect for the world there. And it would be, you know, granted I think they're gonna lose 3 lots by doing it. And I'm sure they can actually create something more out of those lots, but the statement that they would have to move the power poles and even swap anything with Utah Military Academy is not true. So, but again, I's are dotted, T's are crossed.
Any other comments? If there are no other comments, a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
And that is a motion to approve ordinance.
So moved what?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not saying what's in the packet. We got so moved what? We denying this thing?
I apologize,
Motion to
Alan.
deny? Motion to deny? Is
I
that what it was?
apologize. My computer screen went black. Just a second. So I can word it exactly. Oh, do you have it?
This one.
Motion to approve ordinance number 964 regarding a proposed final subdivision and site plan request for Coleman View Estates, as stated in the packet.
Re-second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I do.
Any discussion?
I had a comment.
Okay.
I just wanted to publicly say that I don't think that the council was incorrect in tabling this in the past. I feel like all of us need to consider our perspectives, what we have, and I think tabling something because you don't have enough information to feel that the residents would be safe or it's in the best interest of the city, I think that's a really valid reason to wait until you have all of the information. And I know some people may have misinterpreted my comments from that meeting, but I fully support that, and I think tabling it was the right way to go. And now that we've been provided with this extra information about the discussions and about what was proposed, and we were able to review it, that it does make sense now that without the threat of a lawsuit, we have the information that we need to move forward in a positive way.
Any other comments? Thank you, Councilor Hanson. Any other comments? Seeing none, Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Morrow?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes. Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll continue to work with them on that too, and
Okay.
see where we can get with stuff. So,
Very good. All right, we'll now move on to the comments section of our meeting. Any comments from the city council for this meeting? All right, any comments from the city staff?
I got a whole list of them here. Probably going to shoot my training in the butt tonight, isn't it?
Holy.
That was shot a long time ago.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring. I just put it on there, wishful thinking. you
Yeah,
know.
no, we'll get it.
Let me go through these because some of these you guys ask a lot of questions, and maybe I can update you on a few things. I'll start off with Chris Hatch's development over here. I don't know how much you've seen in the last 2 days that's been moving. They were over there with mowers yesterday. They got on the north lot and pretty much had it done, and their belt broke on the big riding mower. So then they got another machine out that started cutting down some of the trees. I actually stopped. These guys freak out because I come up and
Is
they
this
don't
the
know who I am.
Leslie's one and the
Yeah,
little lot across
on the
street?
north lot. Yeah, they started there. And so I wanted to make sure they were going to continue on all of it. So that's why I stopped. And he said, sorry, we're going to have to get our machine fixed, but we'll be back. They were supposed to be back today. I didn't see him, but I didn't get out this afternoon. So I don't know if they ever made it back, but they are working on it. So we did see progress there. There was a track hole there. If you saw that, they are digging up. They did dig up and disconnect Carrie's water line today. So it's all moving. I thought that track hole was going to be the demo, but they haven't pulled their
Did they
demo permit
disconnect
yet.
it or did they abandon
Oh,
it?
shoot.
It is this one is
Water
disconnected
Oh, shoot.
because they're not going to need that from there. So yeah.
Jeez, no thanks.
Make sure.
And the power guys were there this morning, so I stopped and talked to them. I'm talking to all these guys. They think I'm some creep. I just happened to be driving by and see them, so I stopped. But they've been good conversations with them, and I kind of joke with them. The power was there. There's still power in there, so Chris was right on that. It hasn't been disabled. There's a sign on Riverdale Road that the transformer sits in the middle of that park, so they've got to move that. So that's like number one priority. They've got to get that moved because it's still hot, and they have to keep it to the sign. So that's what they were doing today. So I say these things because that's the most movement we've seen. So Chris is right. I mean, he got them there. They are moving. So that should get better this week. Just a couple little quickies. The flag, I don't know if you saw, Braden brought this up, the flag at 4,400 there and 700. I don't know if you saw that. It got just shredded on the ends and somehow got into the chain, and it was just a mess. But luckily, we just ordered new flags, and they were here. So Chris was able to get in the fire department. They got down there and got that changed. So while that was going on, I ran over here to look at the other roundabout behind Sam's Club, and it was the same way, just shredded. But the cable had broken on that one. And so I put the order in, and Norm got over there, Norm and Sean's guys today, and fire got it put up. So both of those are brand new, and they should look good. So if you've seen those and you were worried about it, we took care of that. Seniors came by today to do their public records request. I don't think they were in there very long. I don't know how much they could have seen in that short period of time. I think it was a little bit overwhelming. This is way more complicated than they thought it was, which we had tried to tell them, but we did give them everything we had. And Michelle spent a lot of time on that today. Your hedge got trimmed. I don't know if you saw that coming in today. That was done just within a couple of days. The gun guy, I've reached out to him. He did send me all his stuff. I just didn't have a chance to get to it. I've had so much going on. But hopefully by next meeting, he is right on a couple of those, so we'll get those changes. They're actually good, and he was really nice. So just a reminder, the day of service is on September 9th, and the fall cleanup is on October 30th. Tesla, good news on that one. It is set to close on the 23rd. We could have money in the bank, which would be nice. Now, I don't know. I mean, it's close. It's closer than it's ever been. They plan on starting construction 9/5 on their timetable, so we are close. That could go really fast. When I have that, we will make a formal announcement in here on price and all that kind of
Mayor's
stuff.
first gonna let them use the road.
I don't know, Alan. I'm staying out of that one.
It's actually open over on that end. Like,
And then last but certainly not least, we have our interviews tomorrow for our chief of police. When I say interviews, it's an interview. It's only one. We open that up internally, and there's only one person that qualifies for it. But us three right here will be in there tomorrow, and we'll go through that process. So that should start to move pretty quick too. So then Scott can abandon us and leave us stranded here. So
You
once
got
we
some
got him
leave- You got
replaced,
some leave you gotta use?
he's getting sick a lot lately. So
Is he gonna abandon us or disconnect from us?
and
and
I think that's all I had. You got anything else that you've been wondering about?
What's the budget hit on, I mean, wait till he leaves, we don't
It,
wanna.
it'll hit us. We weren't, because what Cody generally tries to do, if we got an idea that somebody's going to go, we budget for that. We didn't see this one, so we're going to take a hit, but it is what it is. I mean, we'll make
Me
it
a
work.
favor?
Because
Yeah.
usually
Quickly,
plan ahead
just
to
run down.
budget to pay
I had a question, then you kept going, and I didn't interrupt. Just go down the list of just with one or two words, everything you just touched on.
On all
See
those
if I can-
topics, the seniors, your hedges, the gun guy, flags.
Oh, okay, got
So
it.
the budget wasn't-
Last time we were here, there was a guy came in, I think his name was Mr. Savage, that was gonna make some comments. And he wasn't here tonight, but he
In
arrived
time,
just
yeah, right.
after we got the,
I
Right.
actually talked to him.
what was the
Is
issue?
he the one that ran for,
yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the
Jeff-
foam
Jeff?
party that night. I went to the foam party and he came up to me just right away. He said, I missed the public comment tonight. And so he said, I was just going to comment about the Coleman or the Gold Crest coming in and that whole. He wanted to just share his 2 cents on how he didn't feel it was good for the community and taking away the swap meet. And his wife was really opposed to that too. Like, anyway, so they were just really opposed to taking away the motor view in general and not having a swap meet anymore. And really wanted to share their 2
can we
cents
get a
on that.
committee to do a swap meet somewhere?
You're too late
Well,
now.
That
Probably
train
could.
left the station, but I thought he
Yeah.
was there for some, like, the gun guy was actually, had some valid issues and
Yeah.
the lady tonight was,
Yeah.
and so I just wanted to know what Mr. Savage was, because a lot of those carry forward that, that have
Yeah.
some really good issues.
No, I mean, just like the gun guy, I mean, there's little things that the legislature does every year, and we don't always update our code. We try to, but there's sometimes we miss them, and that's kind of what's happened on this. I mean, I think our code was revised in '84, pretty much from cover to cover. But there's still things, I mean, '84 is still pretty old on some of this stuff, and there's been changes made, and he's right, so we'll get them done. It just, that's one of those ones that we haven't done it where we can go another 2 weeks, so we're okay. Anything else for me?
And I just, the only thing I really had, I just wanted to thank Mr. Brooks. It's a kind of a funny relationship we have. Like, sometimes I try to schedule my text for 9 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes I just send it to him at 10 o'clock at night because someone's like, hey, the garbage can's full on the trail. And I tell him, and I say, hey, the flag's ripped by a champion. And it's just, it's nonstop little things. All these things he talked about are, hey, I'm like, hey, did we ever get a hold of the gun guy and see what we're going to do? And it's just, he's so responsive and so, you know, they're just little things, but they're the things that residents notice. I was joking with him this last week because I said we got 9,000 city administrators going on the trails and the flags. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I'm nonstop with you. Like, you know, it's like, I didn't even tell him about the flag over here. Someone on Facebook pointed out or called us out on that, but I was going to bring it up tonight. But anyway, he does a great job of just, it's always, I'll get right on it. I'll get right on it. And the hedge is trimmed. I did notice that. We have all this little checklist of things that we're going to work on. But he really is doing a great job with it all.
Well, thank you.
One thing, and this is something I've been passionate about, are the lights. I hope some of you have noticed how many are going in. They've been doing them like gangbusters over on 700 West has lights all the way down at all the neighborhoods. They're little. You can tell they're new because they're little. I saw some over by Ritter and stuff. They're pretty cool. Riverdale Road is still struggling, but I don't know how.
I actually had that on my list. I skipped over because while I was down there talking to the Leslie's people, I saw them change a couple lights right there by the mobile home park that's still active.
They're pretty
on that
fast.
side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, they knocked those out really fast. It was
Yeah, the
kind of
guy had all the
surprising.
old ones in his truck, and he was just a bucket, and he just go up and just real fast, like not the project I thought it would be, but Anyway, I did almost hit someone on a rascal by Champion. It was dark, and there's one side of it that's out, and I can't believe I didn't hit him. It was dark, and I don't know how something reflected, and I just hit my brakes in the roundabout, and they were in the dark going across, and I was just like,
That would be great.
The mayor.
anyway, and
They're close though. They're getting there.
It's not just to beat the drum of the lights, but it was kind of like, wow, the lights would have helped that a little bit. But yeah, that would have been a bad news article. Yeah, and I took a lot of heat last night at the sewer board. I had that meeting for the farmers market. I said I got to leave at 7, and a couple of the mayors were like, "What? You got to go talk about your lawsuits?" Or
Wow.
it's kind of a little bit of a dig, you know. And so, but
See, we're fighting the fight.
I said, no, I got to go talk to some of the new businesses that are coming into Riverdale.
Come back.
So it's pretty easy to be the mayor of Riverdale with those other guys. Anyway, but thank you, Mr. Brooks, for all you do, and I'll just keep sending that stuff to you. Please don't get worn out on it. So anyway, that's all I have. We're gonna postpone the training to another time.
No.
Well, actually, I guess, do we need to have a vote on that? Like, it's on the agenda. Like,
No, you just remove it from the agenda.
You just remove it.
Look at Scott's leaning up.
yeah,
He's got ice cream sandwiches to go do.
we're talking about our budget for next year and stuff. It's strategic. Like,
Where's ice cream sandwiches at?
the game at the swim night. We still got 35 minutes to get out there. So anyway, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right, we're adjourned.
Alan, can you explain your so moved?
Braden. Yeah. He was just crazy.